Good afternoon, YouTube. Good afternoon, my fellow Calgarians. Here is a sight that is very, very sad for me to see. The ending of a great era of the International Avenue 17 Ave Southeast being ended by the laughing of fools, let's say. For many of you that don't know, I've made videos of it in the past. 17th Avenue Southeast, otherwise known as International Avenue, was essentially a tourist attraction for many that wish to experience the different rich cultures that lived in Calgary. And each one of these cultures would have a restaurant or business that they conduct there on 17th Avenue Southeast, usually a restaurant. And you could sample the cuisine from many, many different cultures from, a tremendous amount of different countries. And a true testament to multiculturalism. Now, to get into the main point, if you've lived in Calgary longer than 30 years, you'll understand my point. That the bus system, the transit under this guy, Naheed Nenshi, has become extremely and grossly overspending of money and wasting money upgrading the buses every year. Or so I suspect. I suspect it's either every year or every 2 years that they're upgrading the city transit. Now, many of you who have lived in the city for more than 30 years remember Dave Broncornier. You might even remember it if you lived less than that amount of time. But essentially, this was the original unit that Calgary Transit used to be. And this is a bus that was constructed roughly the 1980s, but served Calgary for more than 10 years at least. More like 20. It's a big brick. It was, I could say, inefficient in its design, but so were so many things back then. And then it was soon to be replaced by this model. And this became the primary, running alongside this bus, became for years the way to travel the city transit in Calgary. Enter Nenshi around 2009. We started seeing radical upgrades to the bus system. Okay, so for the first year it was interesting. We got this, I think, or even that. But let's stick with this one for now. So he started by upgrading the buses. So this bus was just the opening salvo. So you go here. This is not even a few years apart, already upgraded. And then again, getting closer to buses that were of this design. And you see, the point that I'm trying to make is that there is no guarantee that there was actual increases in patronages for the bus usage itself. There's no statistics that exist for ridership. We never took a census or any sampling of any route anywhere in Calgary about the usage and ridership of the Calgary City Transit. So keep in mind that they're spending in City Hall millions of dollars. How many units they buy probably upgraded the fleet every single time. So hundreds of buses. And arriving at more high-tech designs that were getting more and more ridiculously advanced. Ending up like this. There are a bunch of models in between this year and this year, which I couldn't find many pictures of them, but they do exist, and they are absent this rail here on the back, Calgary Transit in red. And this on the latest model had that addition. That's probably about a 2 or 3 year old already. So, but each year it's updated, it's upgraded, I would say, or at least every 2 years. And they're becoming more and more excessive. Now, I remember when the transit fee to ride the bus anywhere along the route was roughly $1 or 75 cents or even 60 cents. And that was, I believe, still under this iteration of bus. It might have been also under that and this. These two buses represent the primary bus of the 1990s into 2005, 2006, let's say. And then they were upgraded like so. So the ridership became increasingly and increasingly more expensive as time went on, starting at the point after Nenshi was elected. After Nenshi was elected, the buses, the transit, received a complete remodeling nearly every year. Not right away. He did it gradually and subtly, consolidating his power and so forth. After he was in office for 8 years, he became more confident and arrogant. He started radically upgrading it with different designs till you get a different model each year and so on and so forth. So there's a bit of a jump here that exists, but nonetheless, their models were upgraded every year. I maintain that. And I wonder if any of my viewers feel differently or the same. I bet they if you're paying attention in Calgary, you'll notice it. It's so a very ostentatious display, a very flashy display of the extravagant spending, a useless spending of tax dollars. So I want to conclude this video by saying the transit upgrades were not necessary. We could have run this bus, for example, for another 5 or 6 years or longer, and then we could have upgraded again. I don't know how it goes in most cities, but I presume that because of the radical change in the idea in protecting the environment and climate change, they wanted to run the most efficient buses possible, perhaps. But I mean, how much more efficient are you talking about? You're going to upgrade every year to try to save the environment and waste more millions of dollars for the environment? I don't think so. At a certain point, stop. You've already got an excellent, a beautiful model, way nicer than what is necessary for public transit. And I mean, it's not like public transit is desirable for Calgarians in the first place. Many Calgarians love their cars. We love to drive, Why not? Calgary is widespread. The buses are highly inefficient. Even with the rapid transit, it's still no match for a car. It's like you'll make it in less than a quarter of the time with the car, for sure. So it's like, was it worth it? I don't think so. The ridership especially, I would love to have those statistics, like truly. How many are riding a year? How many on each route? Did the bus rapid transit actually succeed in for all the inconvenience and expense that it caused? I don't know. Somebody should go ride the buses each day and take a sample, perhaps, objectively, and find out what kind of ridership it is. Because I think it's no different from the past. It's just that the buses have become more and more and more unnecessarily modernized, let's say. With different models such as this one, I think this is to replace the old shuttle buses that look like something like this. You can see. So I mean, a simple design. It was a GM transit bus. But nevertheless, we went from that to that. And really, it wasn't all that much time. It was only about 15 years. So, in addition, I wanted to talk to you about what happened to the old models that used to be in our fleet? What happened to these buses? What happened to these buses? Oh, you cannot see here, this one. You know, what happened? Did they trade them in? Did they get value for the money that they spent? Did they discard them? Did they destroy them, crash them? What happened to them? Like, you no longer see these kind of buses on the road, despite the fact that they weren't advanced, but they were definitely adequate for transport. Let's say that. And nobody knows what became of them. They might have been sold. They might have been destroyed. They who knows what happened to them. I do know what happened to these buses. They did get sold, and apparently a private guy in Toronto managed to restore one and modify it so that he could turn it into something valuable for his sentiment, let's say. So a bus like this. Maybe they could be converted to RVs, who knows? But what happened to those buses that were replaced each year? What happened? Where did they go? Where did they end up? Nobody knows. If we're speaking objectively, a practical solution would be to sell them. But when they keep getting replaced, I suspect that they may have been on a lease, and that the city of Calgary essentially kept upgrading the buses and renewing the lease and using the credit that they had on the older chassis to carry it forward and essentially buy newer, more expensive, more modern equipment. So essentially it's an endless money pit, so to speak. We never stop paying into it because we don't really own the buses that we have now, and we'll keep upgrading them in the future, so we keep paying and we keep accruing debt, let's say. And it's really pathetic. I mean, if I can show you quickly the difference. This is a bus stop, an older bus stop, let's say, a traditional one. And if I can just find one that's up to date today, they put in all kind of amenities, heating and whatnot. They've put in a computer, like a sign. Let me see here quickly if I can show you. Stop. Let's see if I can find one. This one here, that's I think in between. This is the new one. Here they are. This is it. This is a heated bus zone, and it comes complete with a computer on the side that displays all kind of useless data, and they're very expensive to build and useless. No, I can't find another example of it, so that'll have to do. Where are you now? Here they are. So that's the new bus stop. They're very ostentatious. They're extremely expensive. They're heated. So, I don't want to take away from passengers that use it. Like that's a lot of convenience though for a transit passenger. It's excessive in a way. But that aside, it's a lot of money that we're spending that put us more in debt, and we still don't own a damn thing. So, in addition to this, I wanted to conclude this video by commenting a little bit on the parking meters, because I feel the same about that. Calgary parking is a tremendous cash cow for the city of Calgary. It's predatory in its nature, but more importantly, the machines, the dispensary for to get your parking not parking ticket, but your parking permit, say, to park there for a certain amount of time. What nobody talks about is that the machines are very they're so different from the past. You used to be able to put money in the old machines. They're so simplistic. They were like this style, but not quite like that. They're more round on the top. More like this. I don't know if we can autofocus it there. There we go. Like that. You would put in, a quarter, loonie, whatever. You pay, and you'd leave. In that era, the parking was much more affordable, more practical, and very merciful on citizens. Nowadays, we have this. This machine itself is quite dishonest in its nature unless you're using a credit card. In addition to that, it's slow, it's incompetent, especially in the winter. It takes a long time to process anything. The keys are very, very inaccurate. You can easily mistype your license plate number when you input it, and you can mistype it, and you will essentially get a ticket from a careless error produced by the machine itself. They're absolutely atrocious in winter, and they don't return your change if you put in loonies or quarters, or if you put in excess what the total is. The machine will eat your money, whatever that is. So say you owe $1.50, you put a toonie, it will eat 50 cents. It will not return any of your change like it did in the past. So these machines are the culprit. I can show you a different, here's one. That's more accurate. That's sort of what they look like. And, I can say they're like a cash grab itself, essentially, and extremely incompetent. So, my fellow Calgarians, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Parking in Calgary has become extremely predatory. These two aspects, transit and parking, are but two of the aspects that require a deep scrutiny by the people to examine the responsibility that needs to be accounted for when it comes to these services that are provided by the city. It's a very dishonest service. It's very, very punishing to citizens of Calgary, and it's very inconvenient as the time goes on. They seem to become more and more incompetent. And I remember when the city used to be, there wasn't any tension. You could park, you could leave, you could spend time with your family at the park or something. You could come back to your car and you could go. And you never have fear of parking tickets like the fear that you do now. In 8 seconds, you could be ticketed. It's pathetic, I've even been, I went to attend a mass downtown, and I was there for 8 minutes, and my car was already on the tow truck. So it's to say it's predatory and it's exploiting the citizens of Calgary is an understatement. So these issues, they're very severe. Who is to blame? The boss of the house, Naheed Nenshi, because ever since he came into power, all these things have been transforming around us, and very subtly, but ever clear. Have you ever tried to fight a parking ticket? Usually you need to take it to court. How many people have time and money to take it to court? Right? So it the changes are an abuse of power, and they're growing ever more invasive into our lives. Thank you for your time and attention and for watching. Please subscribe if you like my content, and please comment below if you would like to join the forum. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.